Long before dice ever clattered across a casino felt, before neon lights and betting layouts and dealers calling out wins, humans were already testing fate with small objects cast upon the ground. The desire to invite chance into decision-making appears almost as old as civilization itself. Archaeological evidence suggests that dice, or at least dice-like objects, existed over 5,000 years ago. The earliest examples were not cubes at all, but knuckle bones, most often the ankle bones of sheep or goats, used in ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Indus Valley. These bones naturally landed in a limited number of stable positions, making them perfect tools for games of chance. To the people of the ancient world, these weren't just toys, they were symbols of fate, divine will, and luck, often intertwined with religious ritual and prophecy.
As societies developed, so did the tools of chance. By around 3000 BCE, civilizations in Mesopotamia began crafting purpose-made dice from stone, clay, and bone. These early dice were not always fair by modern standards. Many were irregularly shaped or unevenly weighted, but they established a critical idea, that randomness could be contained, repeated, and even wagered upon. In ancient Egypt, dice and knuckle bones appeared in tombs, suggesting they were valued not only for entertainment, but for the afterlife itself. Games involving dice became social events, used by soldiers, laborers, and nobility alike, blurring the line between leisure, competition, and gambling.
The ancient Greeks took dice games a step further by weaving them into both mythology and daily life. According to legend, the gods themselves gambled using dice to divide control of the universe, Zeus taking the sky, Poseidon the sea, and Hades the underworld. On Earth, Greeks played numerous dice games involving skill, strategy, and betting. Importantly, Greek philosophers began discussing probability, fairness, and randomness, laying philosophical groundwork that would eventually influence how games of chance were understood. Still, dice gambling was a double-edged sword, popular and widespread, yet frequently restricted or frowned upon due to its association with excess and moral decay. The Romans inherited the Greeks' love of dice and elevated it to an obsession. Dice games were played everywhere, from taverns and street corners to military camps and private villas. Roman soldiers carried dice across Europe, spreading dice culture along with Roman law and infrastructure. Gambling with dice was technically illegal for Roman citizens except during certain festivals like Saturnalia, but enforcement was lax, and cheating devices, loaded dice, shaved corners, and weighted cubes became common enough to concern lawmakers. Roman dice were closer to modern standards, often cubic and marked with pips, and some even followed the rule where opposite sides add up to 7. This standardization would prove crucial centuries later when probability and casino gaming took center stage. Cheating has been nearly as old as dice games themselves. Ancient texts reference gamblers filing down edges, hollowing dice to add weight, or using sostances to alter how dice rolled. Roman soldiers were notorious for carrying multiple sets of dice, some fair and some not, switching them depending on the situation. This constant battle between fair play and deception eventually led to standardized dice designs and, centuries later, strict casino regulations. The modern casino's obsession with fairness is not just about integrity, it's a response to thousands of years of gamblers trying to beat the system. One fascinating detail about early dice is that they were not always numbered from 1 to 6, nor were opposite sides consistently balanced. Archaeologists have discovered ancient dice where the distribution of numbers would be considered unfair by modern standards, sometimes clustering high values together or repeating symbols. This suggests that fairness, as we define it today, was not always the priority. In some cultures, dice were intentionally biased, either unknowingly due to craftsmanship limitations or deliberately to influence outcomes. The idea that chance itself could be manipulated through craftsmanship, ritual, or superstition has followed dice games all the way into modern gambling culture. As the Roman Empire fell and Europe entered the medieval period, dice games did not disappear. Instead, they adapted. In medieval Europe, dice were immensely popular among peasants and nobility alike, often played in inns, marketplaces, and royal courts. Games like Hazard emerged during this period, believed to have been popularized during the Crusades. Hazard is especially important in gambling history as it is widely regarded as the direct ancestor of modern craps. The game involved betting on the outcome of dice rolls with specific target numbers, concepts that will feel very familiar to casino players today. Even then, dice gambling was both loved and feared, frequently banned by rulers who saw it as a threat to productivity, discipline, and morality. Dice also became a symbol of social class and authority throughout history. In some medieval European courts, elaborate dice made of ivory, silver, or gold were commissioned for nobility, while commoners used crudely carved wooden or bone dice. Possessing finely made dice was a status symbol, and gambling itself became a way for elites to display wealth and confidence. At the same time, laws banning dice gambling were often enforced only against lower classes, reinforcing the idea that dice games existed at the intersection of power, privilege, and risk. Meanwhile, dice were evolving independently across the world. In China, dice appeared alongside early forms of dominoes and tile games, often tied to betting and lottery-style gambling. In India, dice games were deeply embedded in cultural storytelling, most famously in the Mahabharata, where a rigged dice game leads to betrayal, exile, and war. This story highlights a recurring theme throughout history. Dice were never just about chance. They were about trust, deception, fate, and consequence. Across regions, dice became symbols of risk and reward, capable of changing fortunes in a single roll. Superstition has always played a powerful role in dice games, even when players understood the rules. Ancient gamblers often believed certain numbers were lucky or cursed, and this belief persists today. The number 7, for example, has long been associated with both fortune and danger, depending on the game. In Roman times, 7 was considered a divine number, while medieval gamblers often feared rolling it at the wrong moment. Modern craps players still react emotionally to specific numbers, proving that even in a game governed by math, human psychology remains deeply involved. The Renaissance marked a turning point in how dice games were understood. As mathematics and science advanced, thinkers began analyzing probability rather than attributing outcomes purely to divine will or luck. Scholars like Girolamo Cardano, himself an avid gambler, wrote some of the earliest works on probability while analyzing dice games. For the first time, players could calculate odds, house advantages, and expected outcomes. This shift transformed dice from mystical objects into mathematical systems, paving the way for structured gambling games that favored the organizer, in other words, the house. The rise of probability theory dramatically changed how dice games were perceived, but it didn't eliminate emotion from play. When players began to understand odds, gambling shifted from blind faith to calculated risk. However, most players still ignored optimal strategy in favor of excitement. This behavior persists in modern casinos, where flashy, high-risk bets generate more revenue than statistically sound ones. Dice games perfectly illustrate this tension between what players should do and what they actually want to do. By the time dice crossed the Atlantic to the New World, gambling was already deeply ingrained in European culture. In colonial America, dice games flourished among settlers, soldiers, and riverboat gamblers. The game of hazard evolved further in French colonies, particularly in Louisiana, where it became known as crapeau, a reference to players crouching like toads on the ground while rolling dice. Over time, crapeau was anglicized into craps, and the game slowly took on the rules and structure recognizable today. Early craps was chaotic, player-run, and often accompanied by heavy drinking and high emotions, far removed from the polished casino version we now know. Dice games also played an important role in military history.
Soldiers throughout history carried dice into battlefields and camps as a way to pass time, relieve stress, and wager rations or pay. Roman legions, medieval armies, and even soldiers in early modern wars all gambled with dice. These environments helped spread dice games rapidly across regions, turning military movement into a vehicle for cultural exchange. In many cases, the same soldiers enforcing law and order by day were gambling by torchlight at night.
The transformation of craps into a casino staple did not happen overnight. In the early 20th century, American casinos began refining the game to make it more structured, fair-seeming, and profitable. Standardized layouts, clearly defined bets, and strict rules were introduced. Perhaps most importantly, casinos carefully engineered the odds. While craps offers some of the best bets in the casino, such as the pass line and come bets, it also includes numerous high house edge wagers that appeal to excitement over logic. This balance between fair odds and tempting risk is exactly why casinos embraced dice games so enthusiastically.
When casinos began formalizing dice games, they quickly realized that presentation mattered as much as rules. The craps table was designed not just for function, but for spectacle. The layout encourages group participation, loud reactions, and emotional momentum. This atmosphere mirrors ancient communal dice games, where players gathered in circles and reacted collectively to each roll. In many ways, the modern casino craps table is a carefully engineered continuation of humanity's oldest gambling ritual.
An often overlooked detail in dice history is the evolution of dice markings themselves. Early dice used dots, lines, symbols, or even letters instead of standardized pips. The pip arrangement we recognize today gradually became dominant because it was easy to read at a glance and difficult to alter without detection. This design choice, seemingly simple, played a major role in making dice suitable for fast-paced gambling environments, especially as games like craps required quick recognition of outcomes. Modern dice manufacturing also played a major role in legitimizing casino dice games. Precision-cut, transparent dice with razor-sharp edges replaced the rounded, imperfect dice of the past. Serial numbers, controlled materials, and strict regulations ensured fairness and reduced cheating. Casinos developed elaborate procedures for dice inspection, rotation, and disposal, reinforcing player trust while protecting the house. Dice, once carved from bone and stone, became engineered tools of controlled randomness. Despite all the technology and regulations surrounding modern dice games, the core appeal has never changed. Dice are small, simple objects, yet they produce immediate, irreversible outcomes. Unlike cards, which can be tracked or remembered, dice reset with every roll. This quality makes dice games feel pure and honest, even when the odds are stacked. It is this illusion of simplicity and the hope embedded in each roll that has kept dice gambling alive for thousands of years. Today, craps stands as one of the most social and theatrical games in the casino. Players cheer together, superstition runs rampant, and rituals, blowing on dice, setting dice, calling out rolls, echo ancient beliefs about influencing fate. Yet beneath the excitement lies a game rooted in thousands of years of history, shaped by empires, mathematics, culture, and human psychology. Alongside craps, dice mechanics influence countless other games, from Sic-Bo to proprietary casino variations designed to maximize engagement and revenue. Despite all the technology and regulations surrounding modern dice games, the core appeal has never changed. Dice are small, simple objects, yet they produce immediate, irreversible outcomes. Unlike cards, which can be tracked or remembered, dice reset with every roll. This quality makes dice games feel pure and honest, even when the odds are stacked. It is this illusion of simplicity and the hope embedded in each roll that has kept dice gambling alive for thousands of years. The story of dice games is ultimately the story of humanity's relationship with chance. From knucklebones cast in the dirt to precision dice tumbling across a felt table under bright lights, dice have always represented possibility. Casinos did not invent dice gambling, They perfected it, packaging ancient Risk into modern entertainment. Every roll connects today's players to soldiers, kings, gamblers, and storytellers who all trusted their fate to the same simple act, letting the dice fall where they may. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel out and tells YouTube this is content worth sharing. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another strategy breakdown, game walkthrough, or insider tip. We've got tons of guides coming your way, and you'll want to be here when they drop.
And hey, tell me in the comments what you want to see next. Whether it's roulette strategies, blackjack tips, slot myths, virtual casino breakdowns, whatever you're curious about, let me know. Your ideas shape what we create.
Before you go, if you're serious about leveling up your casino knowledge, you have to check out the Ultimate Casino Guide. I put everything I've learned into one massive, easy-to-read resource designed to make you a smarter, more confident, more prepared player. If you've ever wondered which games actually give you the best odds, how do pros manage their bankrolls so they don't blow it all in an hour, what tricks casinos use, both physical and digital, to influence your decisions, how to avoid the biggest money traps beginners fall into, then the Ultimate Casino Guide will change the way you play forever. It covers psychology, probability, strategy charts, real-world case studies, VR and online casino risks, loyalty program hacks, literally everything you need to walk into any casino and know exactly what you're doing. The link is right here on the end card. Click it and start transforming the way you play. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and I'll see you in the next video.